And how the journey began was back in February of 2019. And, I walked through a doctor's door and was told there was cancer. And there's some doors in life that you just don't walk back through. And that was one of them. At first, the doctors thought it was diverticulitis. I was incredibly fit at the time. They looked at my age, around 45, 46, and they were saying, this is probably some kind of stomach-related illness. We'll get you right in no time. So I was told that I had a stage 3 colorectal cancer, and something had to be done immediately. So that's when the journey began. I began 35 weeks of radiation and chemotherapy at the same time. I think we drove about 5,000 kilometers, about 300 a day in that space of time. And that's where it all began. So when you're told that this is what you have, cancer is a big word. The first thing that went through my mind was, how am I going to look after my family? How am I going to make sure that they're okay and looked after? And the second thing that I thought of was, how am I going to take care of all our patients and clients and keep things going at our Center for Healing and Life Transformation? It's a big responsibility taking care of people's mental health, and there was no way that I was going to let that sink either. So it was radiation and chemotherapy for many, many weeks, 5 weeks or so. And then it was a pause to prepare for what I was told was about 4 operations in one. It was a total reconstruction of the colon, a total removal. They couldn't leave one cell behind, of course. So needed a team of about 10 doctors, which they did have. And then it became very, very real, Because of the type of cancer and where it was placed, I had about an 8 centimeter tumor. And because of that, I needed to go and see a specialist in Cape Town who really helped me through from day one. So there was a lot of backwards and forwards to Cape Town and back through this journey. So I was told it was going to be a major operation about 10 times. In fact, everyone who picked up my chart at the hospital, you got to check in a day or two before just to prep. And, the surgery was going to be followed by 4 days in intensive care. I would have a temporary ileostomy bag, which I kept for several months, put on. And it was pretty darn scary, but it had to be managed. There was no other way. And somehow I managed to maintain gratitude for this opportunity to be put in the hands of these very talented, clever and special people who said they could help, and boy, they did. So I remember sitting in the radiation room, big machines, very scary. You don't know what to expect. Is this going to hurt? Everyone's standing out of the room behind closed doors. And you lie on a bed and you lie on your back, and this big machine was switched on, began to vibrate, and as it spun around and I was staring at the roof, someone had put a plaque on the roof and it said simply, "Be still and know that I am God." And that helped a lot, and that's exactly what I did. So the funny thing was, being in the hospital, the team of 10 that awaited me came and introduced themselves one by one, and there was a ton of nurses and so on that would be looking after me for, I think, the 15 days or so, half a month that I was going to be in hospital this time around. And they were incredible. They ended up putting stickers all over me and making light. The one thing they did do, though, was everybody who picked up the chart and had a look had the same bedazzled reaction, and they all went, "Wow, this is 4 or 5 operations in one. This is going to be huge, Mark." And eventually, after one person after another came in and shared how big this operation was, we began to laugh. And it made it easier, a lot easier. About a year later, there was a reversal of the ileostomy, which was quick and easy compared to what I'd been through before, in about March 2020, and it was just before COVID lockdown, so I was lucky, or I would have been stuck with it for a lot longer with COVID as the next journey. So life keeps unfolding. There's one situation after another in life, and you just got to keep going through them. So COVID was the next one. So I narrowly escaped having to wait a long time until the hospitals cleared up so that I could have that removal. But it was done, and it was successful. So how I decided to take care of the family and the clients and all of these people was I picked up a camera and began filming. And that changed our business, changed our life, and it's still helping a ton of people, including myself, to get a message out there that there is, no matter what the news is, even if it's stage 3 cancer, is that there is always hope and there's always a corner to turn. And in those times, when you get a diagnosis or the news, it's tough. It's tough to see into the future. It's tough to see that you can possibly get through. But that corner, and I've seen that with my own experience and at work, helping people with depression, anxiety, trauma, is that there's almost always a corner to turn, no matter what's going on in your life. And so through this all, I was able to keep connection with self, other, and God. And that connection is the immune system of humanity. And it really kept things moving forward. It kept purpose, meaning, and growth at the front of what seemed so senseless at the time. Of course you say, why me? Which turns to, why not me? And that is connection in itself. It really is. And so I think what changed is you realize life 2.0 is a gift. It's an opportunity. And you don't always realize that in the beginning. You don't always stop and smell the roses, so to speak. So what's changed is when it's raining outside, you can't have a bad morning. It is what it is, and you're grateful for it, no matter what it is. No matter what shape it takes, you have this life 2.0, and you make every day count. I think another thing that definitely did happen was you move out of your head and into your heart, and you break open. You don't break down through these things. Everybody shares stories of strength and growth through trial, through suffering. And we don't want to glorify suffering, but it is a big part of life. And life is impermanent. It is always changing, and that's something that we need to accept and sometimes embrace. So I had two choices, being in the hospital for this half a month, which was to break down or break open. And I decided to start talking positively to the surgeons and the staff, and a lot of them stuck around to hear my story and hear the message that I had to share, that there was this corner to turn in life, and somehow it all had meaning. And once or twice I did have a couple of doctors and surgeons staying in the room and saying, "Excuse me, nurse, you don't need to worry, this is a personal visit." And we were connecting, and that was great. It was important. So, even with these profound and clever people, I found something to give back. I remember thinking at the time, something I've written down in one of my books, is that we're all like matches. We're lying in this box, we're dormant, we've got all this potential, and we just need that spark. And often that spark comes about in very different ways than we expect. And it's those rough surfaces in life that strike us into creating our action potential and burning warmly and brightly instead of lying dormant. So there is no dormancy for me anymore. And as I said, there's some doors that you don't walk back through, and this is really one of them. So every day counts. It's the simple things. There is no going back, only forwards. And what we do instead of break down and die and become hopeless is we more often than not awaken to a reality that is really, really beautiful. And today when people say good morning to me, I realize that they're not just greeting me, that they're telling me what the morning is like. And it's a good reminder. So remember that there's a corner to turn. Keep things simple. And remember that there's growth, purpose, and opportunity in everything. There's always, always a corner to turn. And there's always hope. I think the person who put up the poster above that radiation machine with "Be still and know that I'm God" made such a profound difference to my experience on day one. They possibly wondered if they'd made any difference at all, I can imagine, to me and how many other hundreds of people. That simple gesture about putting a positive sign up in a hospital when someone's really, really at their most vulnerable and lowest was profoundly impactful to me. And it made all the difference. So we can do these simple things, acting from the heart, and we can make all the difference in the world with these simple things to the people around us. Whether we know it or not, everything we do has an impact. So let's be impactful.